Hello, my name is Leroy Smith. I'm the founder and CEO here at Realize Educational Solutions, where our mission is to equip our families, communities, and schools with the tools necessary to help all learners succeed and realize what success looks like to them. This month's mini lesson is all about how to reflect upon our cultural lenses. For the next few months, we're going to talk about culturally responsive teaching or pedagogy. How do we respond to our students' culture embedded within our curriculum and empower our students by exposing them to different cultures so that they can have a more well-rounded experience in education? So this episode is all about reflecting on our cultural lenses. We all have them and we all use them, sometimes knowingly and unknowingly. Sometimes for the benefit of ourselves and others, and sometimes to the detriment of ourselves and others. If we are not careful as caring adults or educational professionals, our cultural lenses can harm and prevent the educational and social progress of children. And so this particular part of the competencies of culture responsive teaching, one of the competencies, and I think should be the first, is we need to reflect upon our own cultural lenses. What is a cultural lens, you're probably asking? Well, it's simply defined as how you see yourself within your culture and how you view the cultures around you that may have impacted your upbringing. Now, sometimes in each and every culture, there are beautiful, magnificent things to celebrate. But in every culture, there are also some very ugly and some very harmful things that we must figure out how to get rid of so our children can have a more holistic and well-rounded experience within their education. So I'm going to provide you 3 tips of how you can reflect upon your cultural lens so that you can begin your journey and continue your journey to provide culturally responsive education for your learners. Tip number 1, to become a culturally responsive educator and parent and caring adult when you're reflecting upon your cultural lens, is to reflect upon your origins. Meaning, where did you start? Where is your start within your family tree? Are you the descendant of someone who perhaps probably owned enslaved people? Are you a descendant of someone who was an enslaved person? Are you a descendant of someone who has passed on a great invention to benefit humanity? You have to reflect upon your origins. Where did your family start? What kind of cultural practices are used or practiced within your family consistently? What kinds of harmful things has the culture that you grew up in, what have you contributed to that was harmful for others or yourself? What are all the positive things your culture has contributed to the world? Examining your origins gives you a starting point to know where you have been, where your family and community and culture has been, and where you are now and where you want to go. This is helpful as an educational professional or a caring adult for children, because in order to be culture responsive, we have to understand where our biases lie. And you can't understand your biases unless you know where you start, where your origin story is. Now, this is easier said than done because so many of us have origin stories that are disrupted because of oppression and so many other things and trauma. And so it's a lot more challenging to find our origin stories, but it doesn't mean that we don't seek it, that we don't engage with that challenge so we can become more responsive to our students by examining our own origins. Our second tip to reflect upon our cultural lenses is to practice self-awareness. Being aware of who you are starts, like we said, with tip number 1, your origin story, but also being self-aware in the moment. How am I feeling? What am I doing? And examining, are the things I'm doing because I'm an individual, or are these behaviors that were taught to me by my culture? Are these behaviors beneficial for me and for others, or do they disadvantage others and myself? So you really have to become self-aware as to where your behaviors and your beliefs are coming from. And often that starts with your origin story, but also in real time, how are your behaviors and your beliefs impacting not only you, but others? And are these original thoughts of yours, or are these the practices and behaviors you have been conditioned to do as a result of what you've learned within your culture? So it's an opportunity to really think deeply about that. And that's how we become more culture responsive for our students. Tip number 3 is one of my most favorite tips, but probably the most uncomfortable tip that you might have to do, is to find yourself an accountability partner or groups. Just like it benefits us to have accountability partners to go to the gym and stay at the gym on our workout routines, it's very important to find an accountability partner or groups that hold you accountable for reflecting on your cultural lens. You see, when we are so used to our culture and think everything in our culture is positive and good, even when some of those things are harmful for us and others and even the planet, we lose sight of our accountability in that harm. We lose sight of our accountability in the repair of that harm as well. And so in order to reflect upon our cultural lenses, we need people around us who are going to call us out loudly or call us in quietly to get us to do the right things, to get us to really understand that maybe what we're doing is what we have been taught within our culture. And maybe that thing is great, and maybe that thing is not so good. And we have to find a way to push through the noise. It's hard to push through the noise when you're busy and you got all these other commitments. It's so easy to lose track of how to be a culture responsive educator or professional or caring adult when you have bills to pay and all these other things. But when you have an accountability partner that say, hey, what you said last week to this person or what you did today was not cool because that could really offend someone. You need someone like that in your corner. You need people like that in your corner because they're going to keep you consistent and keep you moving forward to provide the best well-rounded experience for students that are within your care. And with this, I want to thank you all for this mini lesson on reflecting upon your cultural lenses. I hope that something we said today with our 3 tips of reflecting upon your origins, practicing self-awareness, and having accountability partners and groups helps you to become more culture responsive for your students, especially your most diverse and marginalized students that you have at home, in the community, or at your school. And as always, if you like our videos, please subscribe to our channel on YouTube and other formats on Facebook and LinkedIn and Instagram at Realized Solutions LLC. Also, comment on this video if any of these tips or suggestions resonate with you or you have your own way of reflecting upon your cultural lenses. Additionally, share this video with your friends, your families, your child's teacher or your colleagues or your school leaders or district leaders so that they can have some very manageable tips to move about their day and to make sure students are cared for and receive the best education they can possibly receive that is responsive to their cultural and linguistic needs. As always, I hope you realized a solution that works for you today. Goodbye.